My parents threw a celebration for my promotion without asking me first. When the bill of $4,313.45 arrived, I offered $1,500, but they turned it down. My dad pointed at me and yelled, "You got promoted. You should cover the bill." I paid and cut ties with them. A week later, my mom came over to apologize, but she had another motive. "Hey, Reddit, when I received my promotion, I wanted a quiet evening. Just dinner, a walk, maybe a small toast." But my parents had different plans. "We're throwing a party," Mom announced over the phone, her voice full of excitement. "You finally made manager. It's a family celebration." I smiled uncomfortably. My relationship with them had always been tricky. They cared a lot about appearances, the perfect pictures, the perfect family, the perfect bragging rights. I was proud of my promotion, of course, but not enough to become someone's trophy. The restaurant they chose was one of the priciest in town, a place I had never dared to enter. Crystal chandeliers, polished marble floors, waiters in suits that cost more than my whole outfit. When I walked in, I froze. There were at least 40 people there, aunts, cousins, neighbors, even my father's business partners, all apparently there to celebrate my promotion. Mom hugged me first. "Look at you," she exclaimed. "Our big success story. Finally, we have something to be proud of." Dad patted my shoulder stiffly. "About time, son." For a moment, I wanted to believe they were genuinely happy. But then I noticed the subtle glances they exchanged with everyone. The way they pointed and whispered about my salary, my job title, how I had finally caught up to Rachel. Rachel, my sister, their favored child. Dinner was loud and overwhelming. Every toast felt less like a celebration and more like a presentation. When dessert arrived, I excused myself to the restroom just to catch my breath. My reflection in the mirror looked calm, but my chest felt tight. I couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't about me. It was about them and their image. Then the bill came. The waiter placed it neatly between my parents. Dad picked it up, glanced at the amount, and his face barely changed. Mom smiled too quickly, the kind of smile that conceals something. "Wow," she said. "They must have added a service charge." Dad cleared his throat. $4, $313.45. The room fell silent. I blinked. "For one night. That's a lot," I said quietly. "I never asked for this." Dad cut me off, his tone sharp. "You got promoted, didn't you? You can afford it." I laughed awkwardly. "Wait, you invited everyone, not me. I can help. I can chip in $1,500. Mom frowned. "Don't be ridiculous, Daniel. You're the guest of honor." "Exactly," Dad interrupted. "And the guest of honor pays." The waiter hesitated. I felt frozen and humiliated. I could have argued, could have walked out, but pride, the same pride they had used against me, wouldn't let me. So I pulled out my card, signed the slip, and left that restaurant without saying a word. The rain that night felt heavier than usual. Each drop against my jacket sounded like the echo of that dinner. For $1,000 gone, but it wasn't about the money. It was about what it represented. I had spent my entire life trying to earn their respect. And the moment I finally achieved something, they turned it into a bill. That night, I sent one message to our family group chat. "I paid your bill. I hope it was worth the relationship you just lost." Then I blocked them all for a week. Silence, no calls, no apologies, just emptiness and a small sense of relief I hadn't felt in years until the knock came. It was Saturday morning. I opened the door, and there stood my mother. She looked smaller somehow, tired, fragile, with a basket of muffins in her hands. "Daniel," she said softly, "can we talk?" I hesitated, then stepped aside. We sat at the kitchen table. The air between us was heavy. "I came to apologize," she began. "Your father was wrong. We shouldn't have put you on the spot." Her voice cracked, and for a moment, I saw the mother I used to know, warm, gentle, protective. "It's okay," I said quietly. "It's done." She shook her head. "No, Daniel, it's not done. We hurt you, and we want to make it right." I exhaled slowly. Maybe this was the closure I needed. But then her tone shifted. "Also," she continued carefully, "your father's been having some business problems. Nothing serious, just temporary cash flow issues. We were hoping you could lend us something." I stared at her. She looked everywhere but at me. "You came to apologize," I said slowly, "and now you're asking for money." She flinched. "It's not like that. You're successful now, Daniel. You can help. It's family." I laughed quietly, bitterly. "Family? The same family that made me pay for my own humiliation." She looked desperate now. "Please just think about it. Your father is stressed about Rachel's wedding. I cut her off. Stop. Just stop. Do you even hear yourself? You didn't come here because you're sorry. You came here because you needed something. Her lip trembled. You don't understand, Daniel. Your father. No, I interrupted, standing up. You don't understand. I spent years trying to make you proud. And now that I finally have, you still find ways to take from me. She stood too, tears welling in her eyes. I just wanted. You wanted control, I said quietly, and now you've lost it. She looked at me for a long time, then placed the basket on the table. You'll regret this, she whispered. Family doesn't last forever. I didn't respond. I just walked to the door and opened it. Goodbye, Mom. That night I couldn't sleep. Not because of guilt, but because of clarity. They never celebrated me. They celebrated what they could gain from me. And now that power was gone. I thought that was the end until a week later when there was another knock. But this time it wasn't my mother. It was someone else. And what they told me changed everything. A week had passed since Mom came to ask for money. I thought that was the end. I'd said my piece, and for once, I wasn't the one left broken. But that peace didn't last long. It was Thursday evening when someone knocked again. This time, it wasn't her. When I opened the door, a man in a gray suit stood there. Mr. Hale, he asked. Yes. I'm from Hale and Brooks Legal Services. Your father asked me to deliver some documents. He handed me a thick envelope and left before I could ask anything else. Inside was a notice of guarantor obligation. Apparently, my name had been signed as a co-signer on one of Dad's business loans, a loan worth $68,000. My stomach dropped. I hadn't signed anything. My first thought was denial, then anger, then the cold realization that this wasn't a mistake, it was intentional. They'd used my name, my credit, my trust. And the signature, though forged, looked eerily close to mine. That night, I called Mom. She didn't answer. I called again. Nothing. Then finally, a message pinged in. Mom, we had no choice, Daniel. The business was collapsing. We'll fix it soon. No choice. Those two words burned in my mind. They had a choice. They always had a choice. They just never chose me. The next morning, I drove to their house. I hadn't been there in years. The moment I stepped through the gate, memories flooded back. The smell of Dad's old aftershave, the sound of Mom humming while she cooked, the way that house used to feel like home. Now it just felt like a crime scene. Mom opened the door, startled. Daniel, you shouldn't just show up. I held up the letter. You forged my name. Her face went pale. It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. I cut in. You signed my name on a $68,000 loan. That's fraud. Dad walked in from the living room, his voice firm but shaky. Watch your tone, son. We're family. We'll pay you back. You won't, I said coldly. You can't even pay for your own mistakes. He glared at me. You owe us. We raised you, fed you, gave you everything. I laughed bitterly. You kicked me out at 21 because I didn't fit your idea of success. You only came back when I became it. Mom reached out, pleading. Daniel, please. The bank is after us. If you report it, your father would finally face the consequences of his actions. I interrupted. Maybe it's time. She started crying. You don't mean that. I stared at her. The same woman who had told me I was ungrateful for not paying for their party. I mean every word. I walked toward the door but stopped just before leaving. I'll give you 48 hours to fix this. Pay the bank. Clear my name. Or I'll press charges. Dad scoffed. You wouldn't dare. I turned slowly, looked him straight in the eyes. Try me. 2 days later, I received a call. Not from my parents, but from the bank manager. Mr. Hale, your account was credited this morning. The loan has been paid in full. Your name is cleared. I hung up, relief washing over me like a quiet storm. They'd fixed it. Or so I thought. That evening, Mom texted again. We sold the car. Everything's okay now. Please come for dinner. No tricks, just family. Against my better judgment, I went. When I arrived, the house was dim. No laughter, no noise. Just Mom sitting at the table with 2 plates and a candle. Where's Dad? I asked. She looked down. He's gone, Daniel. I froze. Gone? What do you mean gone? He left, she whispered. Took the rest of the money. Said he needed a fresh start. She started crying again, but this time it wasn't manipulative. It was real, raw. I lost everything, she whispered. Your father, the house, my pride. I just wanted to fix things before it all fell apart. For the first time in years, I didn't see a scheming woman. I saw a broken one. I sat down across from her. We didn't speak for a while, just silence and the soft crackle of the candle between us. Finally, she said, "You were right, Daniel. We took too much from you. We made you pay for things that weren't your fault, and still you came back." I sighed. "I came back to make sure you didn't destroy what was left of yourself." She smiled weakly through her tears. "You really are the man we failed to raise." I didn't respond. I just reached for the envelope. I brought a check, enough for her to start over legally and quietly. "It's not a gift," I said. "It's closure." She stared at it. "You're giving me money after everything we did?" "I'm giving you peace," I said softly, "because I already found mine." As I stood to leave, she whispered, "I don't deserve you." I turned back one last time and said, "You're right, but I deserve peace." And now I finally have it. Weeks later, I learned Dad had left the state. Mom moved into a small apartment, and for the first time in my life, I didn't feel anger, just acceptance. Sometimes the people who raised you can't grow with you. Sometimes you have to let them stay behind so you can move forward. They threw a party for my success and made me pay for it. But in the end, I realized the most valuable thing I ever bought that night was freedom. He paid the bill that night, but what they didn't realize is that he just purchased his peace, independence, and final goodbye.